Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Today we shrink our focus down to the cellular level. During the height of the Cold War, the agency wasn't just worried about nuclear warheads. They were terrified of what they couldn't see. But their solution wasn't just better microscopes, it was the power of the human gaze. They asked a question that sounds like science fiction. Can a human mind, through sheer intent, reach into a petri dish and kill a virus? This was the unsettling work of Project Meter. Project Meter was the agency's foray into psychokinesis targeting biological systems. Project Meter focused on biodynamic engineering, investigating if sensitives could mentally influence the growth rates of bacteria, fungi, and yeast cultures. A quote from a Declassified Office of Research and Development memo. Evidence suggests that high-order human consciousness may exert a non-physical influence on the replication cycles of simple cellular organisms, end quote. The agency recruited individuals who claimed to possess psychic healing or telekinetic abilities to see if they could perform remote sabotage. Subjects were placed behind double-paned glass and told to wither a specific strain of E. coli while leaving a control sample in the same room untouched. Project Meter was heavily influenced by the CIA's fear of the Soviet Institute of Brain Research, which was rumored to be developing psychic assassins who could cause strokes from a distance. A quote from a 1976 technical evaluation. The ability to disrupt a hostile biological weapons facility via mental projection represents a paradigm shift in non-kinetic warfare, end quote. Researchers used random number generators and quantum tunneling sensors to see if the mind was actually warping the physical space around the petri dish. Meter scientists tested if group intent, multiple people focusing on one sample, could accelerate the fermentation process of yeast. The agency used Faraday cages to block all known electromagnetic signals, proving that if the effect was real, it wasn't using radio waves. A quote from Dr. Harold Putoff, "We are looking for a signal that exists outside of the standard four-dimensional framework of physics," end quote. The project explored biological encryption, wondering if a sensitive could encode a secret message into the growth patterns of a mold colony. The CIA investigated the distance factor, testing if a person in California could affect a sample in a lab in Maryland. Project Meter documents from 2026 suggests the agency tried to use LSD to heighten the subject's psychic connection to the microscopic targets. One study involved mentally shielding an agency official from foreign psychic attacks by surrounding them with positive intent plants and bacteria. A quote from a Declassified 1978 progress summary. While the statistical variance is significant, the repeatability of the wither effect remains problematic for operational deployment, end quote. Meter researchers were interested in whether emotional charge, specifically anger or hatred, had a more destructive effect on bacteria than calm focus. The agency collaborated with the Stanford Research Institute to develop protocols for double-blind mind-microbe interactions. Budget logs reveal that Meter was a precursor to Project Stargate, the agency's more famous remote viewing program. The 2026 release highlights a sub-study into biophotons, the tiny bursts of light emitted by cells, to see if a human mind could dim them. Operational security required that the petri dishes be transported in lead-lined cases to avoid any psychic contamination from passerby. A quote from a former research assistant: "You start to feel like the bacteria is looking back at you. It's a very heavy feeling in the room when the sensitive starts their work." End quote. The CIA explored if a person could bless or curse a water supply to either enhance or degrade the health of a target population. The project documented psychic burnout, where the bacteria would eventually become immune to the person's mental influence. Meter researchers noted that the effect worked best when the subject had a biological sympathy for the target, viewing it as a living extension of themselves. The 2026 Declassified data shows the CIA attempted to create a psychic firewall, a living layer of algae that would react when an enemy psychic was scanning a building. In 1979, the agency tested biostatic interference, attempting to see if a psychic could stop a virus from spreading through a laboratory ventilation system purely by visualizing a wall of white light. Internal memos discuss the micro-PK effect, suggesting that focused human intent could alter the pH levels of a solution without any physical additives. A quote from a declassified 1981 internal memo: "If the Soviet Union achieves a breakthrough in biodynamic inhibition before we do, our entire strategic biological defense infrastructure becomes obsolete." End quote. Records indicate that the CIA monitored radionics devices, pseudoscientific instruments designed to transmit healing or harming frequencies to distant biological samples. Project Meter researchers observed that certain fungi showed a fear response on polygraph sensors when the sensitive merely entered the laboratory building. While we have the charts on growth rates, a 1980 file titled "Meter Phase 5 Spontaneous Mutation" is blacker than a new moon. What happened when the agency stopped trying to kill the bacteria and started trying to change it? Get ready for the theory of the psychic plague. Speculation suggests that Project Meter succeeded in creating a thought virus that can be transmitted through a simple stare, and the black redactions hide the names of the sovereign sensitives who can kill a city without leaving their chair. What if you're the experiment? A dark rumor suggests the agency is testing meter-tuned bacteria in commercial yogurt to see if they can control your digestion with a radio tower, and the redactions are the product list of infected brands. Could the mind evolve a virus? Speculation suggests the redactions hide Project Prometheus, where a sensitive mentally forced a harmless bacteria to mutate into a deadly pathogen in less than an hour, and the CIA is terrified it can't be reversed. Watch out for the shadow strand theory. It claims the redactions hide evidence that Meter subjects could rewrite their own genetic code through meditation, and the black bars hide the photos of agents who turned into something no longer human. What if the bacteria are conscious? Speculation posits the redactions hide transcripts of microscopic conversations where the sensitives claimed the bacteria were begging for their lives or offering secrets about the Soviet labs. Could the mind trigger a tumor? A wild rumor suggests the redactions hide the biological sniper files, documenting the agency's ability to cause rapid onset illness in targets by sending a mental signal to the target's own cells. Brace for the fermentation frequency theory. It claims the agency found a way to make the world's bread supply toxic using a single satellite broadcast, and the redactions are the emergency plan for a global fast. Some believe the redactions hide the hive mind. Speculation suggests the CIA successfully linked a sensitive to a colony of ants, and the black bars hide the incident where the insects took control of the agent. Beware the fungal follower rumor. It claims the redactions hide a cult within the agency that believes they are the voice of the world's mushrooms, and they are using meter to prepare for the spore awakening. Some speculate the black bars hide the human herbicide. The theory is that projects Jute and Meter were combined to find a way to make the human body reject its own oxygen, and the redactions are the test results on political dissidents. Prepare for the cellular ghost theory. It suggests the redactions hide the discovery that once a sensitive is focused on a bacteria, that bacteria becomes entangled with the person forever, allowing the agency to track anyone who consumes that specific strain anywhere on the globe. What if the garden is a weapon? Speculation suggests the redactions cover Operation Orchard, where the agency grew an entire field of apples using meter protocols, creating fruit that would induce a specific mental command when eaten by a target. Get ready for the biological remote rumor. It claims the black bars hide the manual for using meter to control the movements of a target by mentally influencing the gut bacteria in their stomach to release specific neurochemicals. Could they bring it back? Some theorists believe the redactions hide Project Lazarus, where a sensitive attempted to mentally restart the metabolic process in a sample of ancient frozen plague, and the CIA successfully woke up the past. Beware the ocean eye theory. It posits the redactions hide a plan to use meter on the world's plankton to turn the entire ocean into a giant living radar system that can detect submarines just by thinking about them. Was Project Meter a success? Conceptually, it was a fascinating failure. The results were never consistent enough to be weaponized. For every miracle growth inhibition, there were a dozen trials where nothing happened. However, operationally, it was a major influence. Meter moved the CIA away from physical machines and toward the human instrument. It proved that the agency was willing to look at the very edges of reality to gain a mental edge over the Soviets. The legacy of meter lives on in the strangest corners of science as far as operational and technological breakthroughs go, such as quantum observation, developing sensors that can detect if a human observer is affecting a physical experiment. Biodynamic metrics, standardizing the way we measure the vitality of a biological culture. Remote influence protocols, establishing the groundwork for how the military currently studies directed energy on human and cellular tissue. And neurobiological feedback, early research into biofeedback where humans learn to control their own cellular responses through mental focus. Project Meter reminds us that to the agency, no life form is too small to be a soldier. The next time you're looking at a petri dish or even a bowl of yogurt, remember the CIA spent millions to see if you could kill it just by staring. Next time, join us as we examine Project K-Gate. The agency was terrified of the vacuum. We'll uncover the study of torsion fields. We'll look at how the CIA analyzed Soviet research into a type of energy that could carry information instantly across the universe. Join us for the torsion terror next time. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.